All of my pain and all of my fear has been coming from the fact that I don't know exactly what I want. There's the idea of synchronicity, which is like a crazy coincidence that happens in your life. And I was first introduced to it through this book, There Are No Accidents. It's actually something that had just been on the shelf in my house, and my mom told me to read it. And it was pretty interesting. And when I first started reading this book, I was really into it because it would give examples of these crazy things happening to people, these true stories where either like someone had a dream about receiving a very specific gift and then the next day they received that gift, stuff like that. And it kind of hints at the fact that there's some type of magical mystery force behind it, some inner working of the secret universe. And I'm always a sucker for that kind of thing. I really hooked me right in. The issue I ended up having with it as I got further through the book was that it was just giving more and more of these examples, which were fun to listen to, but then kind of at the end, when it was the author's turn to explain what it all meant, he was just kind of like, yeah, maybe it's a thing from God, maybe it's something else, I don't know. And I mean, that's kind of all he can say, right? But I don't know, it just wasn't enough. It didn't make enough sense out of it. So it just kind of ended up being these like maybe magical, maybe coincidence things in my head. And I just kind of let it go. And I still think about it, but I don't know. I didn't like the way the book went. Then actually just yesterday I was watching a video from the Y Files, who I really like, and it was a video about synchronicity, about these crazy coincidences. But what I really appreciated from him in that video is that he wasn't afraid to give exactly his opinion on what exactly he thought synchronicities were. He didn't just say, maybe it's a sign from God like this book did, where he's like, maybe it's a God thing, but maybe it's this. Like, we don't know. The Y Files got exactly into what he thought it was, and he said synchronicities are direct results of our thinking. He basically shared his belief that all our consciousnesses are connected, and that whenever you think and visualize really hard about something, it somehow gets translated into reality, which again gets me right back on that magic train, which is so fun to think about. But if you think about it, whether it's magic or whether it's just science, it kind of doesn't matter. It kind of just is true. I think objectively it is true. When you're able to visualize something happening and visualize it to the point where you kind of know it's going to happen, a real belief, that thing happens. It really does. I'm sure you can find examples in your own life. I'll give just two examples I could think of in my own experience. One being when I was wrestling still. I remember when I first started wrestling, I would be so nervous going out into my matches because I really didn't think I was going to win. And I wanted to win. I really wanted to, obviously. But I couldn't really picture it. I didn't really believe I was going to because I didn't have a reason. I didn't have much experience. But in my head, I couldn't even really visualize what winning would look like, what it would take to win a match, what it would take to pin the opponent to score. I vaguely had an idea of it from watching other people, from going to practice, but I had never hands-on won myself. And until I kind of stumbled into doing it once or twice, I wasn't really able to visualize and believe that I was going to win. But then once I did garner that belief and that ability to know what a win looks like and feels like and requires, it was far easier to do it, and I did it way more. Then more recently in my life, just this last year, as I've started going to these open mics and singing in front of small crowds, I have felt the same thing happening all over again, where before I go up to sing, I'm all nervous about kind of knowing that I'm not going to get it right, that I'm going to sound amateur, that I'm going to forget the words, whatever, that I'm just basically new to this thing again, just like I was with wrestling. And although I have seen other people who look professional on stage, and I know what that looks like, and I want to do that, and I really want to, the fact that I'm not able to understand it from a hands-on perspective, the fact that I've never really done it before, it keeps me from doing it. And so just until really this last open mic that I went to, these worries that I would have came to fruition because I was so focused on them, and they were They were all I knew how to do. All I knew was how to worry about the things that were going to go wrong. And it's taken me going months now, consistently, twice a month, to slowly build small habits that I can do on stage that are like, that help me build that performance, that stage presence. But it's not just about building skill. It really is about knowing beforehand, before I go up to play, what I'm going to do, what it's going to look like, and just believing that I'm going to make it happen, and then I'm going to be relaxed, and then it's going to go well. It really is more about the belief than any specific skill. Because what really looks professional, that thing that you can't really put your finger on when a performer is doing something, is just their laid backness. They're kind of like swagger in doing it. Just their ability to do something without it looking like they care, without it looking effortful. Okay, so that's how I feel about synchronicity. I do believe in it in the sense that a belief, a true ability to visualize something, it might take firsthand experience to get that ability to really believe in yourself, because you can't just summon a belief. You can't just summon confidence. And I think that might be where some people kind of go wrong with some of these like manifestation things you see on like TikTok or whatever. And the vision boards, it's like, yeah, that actually is very important. You have to know what it is you're going for, what it is you want. But actually being able to believe that you're going to do those things, like really believe it within your heart, it's difficult. And translating this whole thing to the bigger scheme of just my life in general, I have to acknowledge that all of my fear that I often feel and the anxiety I often feel in my life, and I've just written some notes down here, all of these fears stem from the fact that oftentimes I don't know exactly what I want. It's a scary thing because I know I want to succeed just the way I know before I go up to sing that I want to be professional, and the way that I used to go up before wrestling knowing that I want to win, but I didn't know how. It's the same exact thing. I want my life to be a success, and not just in any one aspect. I know I just want to be fulfilled, right? But not knowing how to get there, not knowing what moves to make, what steps to take, and exactly where it is I want to land, that's the fear. Because I'm not an idiot. I know that if you don't know what you want, you can't be it. Like, it is literally impossible to succeed if you don't have a goal to score in. And that just terrifies me. If I am unable to say exactly what I want to accomplish, who exactly I want to be, and what it's going to look like, I am always going to fail. I'm always not going to be that person because I don't even know who that person is. That's a scary thing. So I've been thinking about it because obviously I want to be this successful songwriter. I want to be a famous singer. I love to create these things. But specifically, what is it going to look like? So I've been thinking about it, and I'm going to continue to think about it because I don't know exactly. And some of this you're going to say is just obvious advice. In fact, I've been aware of this problem. I've had this advice given to me for years now. I remember I was probably like 13. I was talking to my uncle, and I was telling him I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be famous for making music. And he told me it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of luck as well. That's what he told me. And he said, you got to set specific goals because you can't make what you can't measure, I believe is the words he used. And that is a saying that I really like, and it stuck with me. But really, it's mostly haunted me because a lot of times I don't know exactly what I want to make. And so then I can't measure it either. So now what's on my mind is the combination of that old advice, having to set specific goals and know exactly what it is you're trying to accomplish, coupled with this new idea of the synchronicity, which is saying the same thing, but almost offers a kind of mystical aspect to it. This idea that it's not only easier to visualize, but it actually might be translating into the universe somehow. And the universe will write it into reality. I think the truth of it lies somewhere in the middle of these concepts, which are both, it's not just purely not scientific, but it's not purely non-magical, or it's not purely magical either. It's somewhere in the middle, because we can say that both of these things are true. We have examples of both of these things. We've had examples of just people setting specific goals. Obviously, we know goal setting works. And then we've had examples of these really weird, magical synchronicities, coincidences happening. So I don't place all my stock on either one of them. In fact, I just place all my stock on both of them. That's where I really think these synchronicities are fun to think about and to talk about. And it's hard to talk about them because I believe two things at once, and it's something that's easier to think about than it is to say. But I really think it's fascinating. And the bottom line of this train of thought I've been having recently, and why it's been so important to me, is because it truly is just such a crazy, simple thing. The fact that so many people, including myself, go through our lives unsatisfied at times. I'm not always, but and angry, which is coming from really a fear. And this fear is that we don't know what we want, because this fear is that we're missing something, and that's where the anger comes in. You're missing something, but you don't know what it is, and you don't know how to replace it. If you did, you wouldn't be angry about it. So that's what I'm trying to get at. Not knowing what you want is terrifying. It's scary. That's what we need to figure out. That's what I need to figure out. What do I want? And I think being able to answer that question, that is really the key to everything. All right, think about it. Leave me your comments down below. I'm very curious to see if you guys have similar experiences, similar thoughts, opposite thoughts. Tear me to shreds down there. I don't mind. I'll get back to you. And also, as always, my music's linked in the description below if you want to hear some of the songs that I mentioned. If you want to help me along my road to fame, if you want to hurry me along a little, do me a favor and listen to the music. It's down there below. It's on all platforms. Benny BNG is the name I go by in terms of music. Check it out. I'll see you guys next time.